Hey, welcome to Mind Meets Belief, where logic and belief meet in conversation. I am your host, Chris, and today we are diving into a topic that is going to make one half of your brain go absolutely 100%, and the other half go, oh, come on, seriously? We are talking about manifestation. Yes, that thing. The vision boards, the journaling, the whispering your goals into a candle flame at 11:11 p.m. while Mercury is in retrograde. But before you roll your eyes, or before you start defending your vision board, I want you to stay with me, because this episode is not here to mock it, and it is not here to sell you crystals either. This is Mind Meets Belief. We go in between, we ask the uncomfortable question: does manifestation actually work? And if so, why? Let us get into it. First, let us set the scene. Manifestation, in its most popular form, is the idea that if you focus your thoughts, feelings, and energy on what you want, a job, a relationship, a parking spot at Costco on a Saturday, the universe will somehow conspire to make it happen. It blew up with the book The Secret back in 2006. Suddenly everyone was staring at pictures of Ferraris on their bedroom ceiling. Journal in one hand, manifestation playlist in the other. Fully convinced, abundance was 48 hours away. Now that is the extreme version, but here's where it gets interesting. What if manifestation is not magic, but it is also not nothing? Let me give you an example you've probably lived. You decide you want to buy a red car, maybe a red Honda. You never really noticed red Hondas before, but the moment you make that decision, suddenly red Hondas are everywhere. On the highway, in your neighbor's driveway, in the Macca's drive-thru. Did the universe suddenly create more red Hondas for you? No, they were always there. What changed was your brain. This is called the reticular activating system, your brain's built-in filter. It's basically the bouncer at the club of your consciousness. Out of the millions of bits of information your brain receives every second, it decides what gets let in and what gets ignored. When you focus on something, genuinely focus, your brain starts flagging it. It starts noticing opportunities, people, and moments that were always there, but previously invisible to you. Now that is not magic. That is neuroscience. And it is genuinely wild. But here's where logic and belief have their first little argument at the dinner table. The neuroscience explains noticing. It doesn't explain everything, because there are people, real people, who will tell you stories that don't quite fit the "your brain just got better at noticing" explanation. The person who wrote down "I am going to meet my business partner" in a journal, and 3 weeks later sat next to a stranger on a plane, who became exactly that. The athlete who visualized their race so many times, so vividly, that when they ran it, their body already knew what to do. The person who kept saying, "I'm going to get that job," with such conviction that they walked into the interview differently, spoke differently, carried themselves differently, and got the job. Now, is that the universe? Is that God? Is that just confidence with better branding? That's the conversation we're here for. Here's my favorite study, and this is a real one. Researchers at a university asked students to visualize passing an upcoming exam. One group visualized the outcome, themselves holding the results, feeling amazing, celebrating. The other group visualized the process, themselves sitting down, studying, working through the hard problems, making the effort. Guess which group did better? The process group, by a significant margin. The outcome-only visualizers actually did worse. Why? Because imagining the end result gave their brain the feeling of already having succeeded, which ironically reduced their motivation to actually do the work. So if you're lying on your couch visualizing a six-pack without planning to move your body, your brain is already throwing a celebration you haven't earned yet. This is where logic starts tapping belief on the shoulder saying, we need to talk. And honestly, it's a fair conversation to have. But here's the thing. Strip away the incense and the moon phases for a second. What does good manifestation actually look like in practice? It looks like clarity. Most people live their entire lives in a foggy middle ground of, I kind of want something better, maybe? The act of writing down what you actually want in specific detail forces your brain to get clear. And clarity is powerful. it looks like belief as a behavioral driver. When you genuinely believe something is possible for you, not just for other people, but for you, you make different decisions. You apply for the thing, you send the message, you take the chance, and it looks like expectation shaping reality. Because the way you show up in any room is heavily influenced by what you believe about yourself walking into it. None of that requires the universe to rearrange itself. It just requires you to. Now here's where belief gets a seat at the table. Because logic can explain a lot, but logic also can't fully explain the moments in life that feel orchestrated. The call that came at exactly the right time, the book that fell off the shelf and opened to exactly the right page. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but you know what I mean. Those moments where coincidence feels a little too convenient. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that can't be explained by cause and effect alone. He wasn't a mystic. He was one of the most rigorous psychological thinkers in history. And even he said, there is something happening in the space between logic and meaning that we don't fully understand yet. And maybe that's the honest answer. Maybe manifestation lives in that space. So, does manifestation work? Here's the mind meets belief answer. And it's going to be annoyingly balanced because that's kind of our whole thing. Yes, if you use it as a tool for clarity, not a substitute for action. If it helps you get specific about what you want, believe it's possible, and show up differently as a result, then it absolutely works. The science backs that. Know if you're waiting for the universe to do all the heavy lifting. While you scroll Instagram, manifestation is a co-pilot, not the driver. And maybe, in that in-between space Jung was talking about, there's something more. Something that logic hasn't fully caught up to yet. Something that belief has known about for thousands of years. And that's worth staying curious about. That's today's conversation. Logic showed up, belief held its ground, and the truth? It's probably sitting somewhere between the two, laughing at both of them. If you've had a manifestation experience, real, weird, unexplainable, or embarrassingly practical, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments, send it through. Let's keep this conversation going, because that's what we do here at Mind Meets Belief, where logic and belief meet in conversation. Until next time, question everything, believe in something, and whatever you do, don't let logic and belief sit in separate rooms. The best conversations happen when you put them both at the same table. Bye for now.